IPL presents Cricbuzz Live, and so much of this event is about entertainment, and if you can actually look at it like a bit of a movie, somewhat like Rashid Khan does when he comes on to bowl, you can think of this as a great movie that had its first event, and then you have the sequel coming up here. The Kings 11 Punjab taking on the Rajasthan Royals. We're calling it The Mankading Returns. That's the sequel. I wonder if we're going to have any more spices, any more fun and games. But for now, let's focus on the cricket. We've got our experts in the studio, Harsha, Bhogle and Michael Vaughan. It all started, a series of unfortunate events, as it were, on that particular night in Jaipur. I wonder if it's going to be on a lot of people's minds as it is on ours.
It'll certainly be on Josh Butler's mind. Whether it's still on Ravi Ashwin's mind, you know, he can answer that question. I thought it was ridiculous at the time. I think probably they both had a good chat. I think the statement from Josh Butler was that they agreed to disagree on the conversation they had. So Ravi obviously feels that he was in his right to do what he did. Josh Butler didn't agree with what he did, so I think there might be just a little bit of spice out there. And by the way, I like your jacket.
That's a good way to change the topic.
I'll tell you one thing, though.
The conversation must have gone like that.
I'll tell you one thing, though. If Ashwin is bowling and Butler's outside the crease, he will run him out again. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that if Butler's outside his crease, he will run him out again. So I don't think Butler will be outside his crease when Ashwin is bowling.
But there's another interesting little dynamic to today's game. If you have a look post the announcement of the World Cup squads, particularly the India squad, you look at all the 8 franchises, 5 of the captains from 5 franchises, and we're calling Bhuvi a captain at the moment for the sake of this, are all in the World Cup squad. There are 3 franchises without. 2 of them who are playing today would both have had players who kind of would probably have made a 20 of a World Cup squad, Rahane and Ashwin.
Maybe.
Definitely Ashwin.
Yeah, maybe. In fact, if you look at Rahane's record since 2017, he's averaging 45 in one-day international cricket. I think in the West Indies, he might have got 40 or 50 in every single game. He had a pretty good series again after that in the home series. But they've just moved on from Rahane. So I don't think either of them realistically thought they would have been in.
But there's so much talk about the whole World Cup squad. Does it? I mean, I know even if you've sort of told yourself that I don't think I'm going to be there, there's that little semblance of hope, and you now go into it saying, okay, forget it's out of the way, I'm playing more relaxed, or you have something like a point to prove?
I think Ravi Ashwin, he looks the kind of character that he always wants to have a point to prove. He just seems to be that kind of individual. He has, you know, obviously a battle with Virat Kohli. India made a decision a few years ago to go with Kuldeep Yadav and Chahal, and they've been outstanding. You know, Jadeja and Ashwin were pushed to a side. Jadeja snuck in. He's back in the World Cup squad, and I'm sure Ashwin, you know, he'll be sat at home thinking, that could have been me. So, of course, he will think that he's got a point to prove. He's an outstanding cricketer, and there's been times in this IPL that he's captained magnificently. You know, he's been really clever out in the field. I thought he got his tactics wrong in the last game against RCB. He didn't play the extra spinner. So I think he got a little bit wrong there. But, you know, he's shown some real glimpses of being a real good captain, but he's also shown some glimpses of not being a great captain as well. So he's one of those players. And, you know, the Kings are one of those teams that they always give you talking points. They always give you debating points, because there are days where they turn up and you think, whoa, they're onto something. And they turn up the 2 days after and you go, oh, where's that come from? So they're just a little bit inconsistent.
Will Chris Gayle field today?
Nah.
Does he ever field? No. He's always there. His presence is there. But on the subject of Ashwin, he's had a good tournament, but he's had some strange moments. We look at these numbers first, and certainly as a spinner, he's come on despite what he's tried to do. He has his experiments here and there, but he's had his moments. And as we have a look at those numbers, one of them that comes to mind, I wasn't on the show that day, you must have discussed it, was throwing the ball to Sarfaraz Khan at the end.
I think Michael was on it. Were you not on it?
Yeah, I was on.
Yeah, six runs to win. Yeah.
That was the white towel in. 6 runs to win. You've got Sam Curran, who's bowled you a diamond of an over to get a hat-trick 2 or 3 games before, and he's got an over left. You go with your out-and-out bowler, surely. The one thing I'll say about Ravi Ashwin is, because he's captain, he gets to choose when he bowls. I'm not convinced he bowls at the best times all the time.
You think he doesn't bowl the tough overs?
I don't think he bowls the tough overs. Not all the time. I think he chooses when he wants to bowl those tough overs against certain players. I think he can be a little bit tougher on himself, and maybe he needs a couple around him, because he's an outstanding bowler against all batsmen in all conditions. And I think he might need 1 or 2 of his senior players in his team going, you're going to have to bowl these tough overs.
It's a question I've always had actually about bowling captains, because it's one thing to be a batting captain doesn't really decide. He's got a fixed place in the batting order, maybe except in T20 cricket once in a while. But for a bowling captain, how much of it is about when you get yourself onto bowl? And Ashwin's, I think, a great example.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was one of the games he bowled 7, 9, 11, 13. So 7, 9, 11, 13 is really one of your sort of fifth bowlers. You just slip them in 7, 9, 11, 13, unless you're looking to take wickets in the middle overs, whatever. But yeah, let's see where he bowls today.
It's not. I mean, you're looking at Bhubaneswar Kumar. When he was captain, his bowling figures were poor, and I understand that you've got so much to think about as a bowler when you're out in the middle. If you've then got the captaincy, you've got to think about your bowling changes and your fielding changes, and when you bowl yourself, it isn't easy at all. That's why, I'm not saying that, a bowler can't make a great captain. I believe anyone can make a great captain. It doesn't matter if you bat, bowl, field, keep, it's irrelevant. You've just got to be a good leader, and you've got to be a good tactician. But I do look at bowlers sometimes and think, boy, it must be difficult when you've got particularly in 2020 cricket, there's so much going on. There's so many field settings. There's so many little angle changes that you make in every single ball. And then you've got to bowl and deliver the skill. It can't be easy.
Bob Willis once, despite everything that he's done,
yeah.
He once actually was given man of the match for captaincy in a match where he actually didn't bowl. He didn't even pick up a wicket that day. 83 World Cup.
We must get him in the studio one day and ask him to talk about his own captaincy, and let's see what he has to say about it. But I can imagine it must be difficult, because at a particular moment, if you put yourself in, you lay yourself open to the criticism that he's choosing when to bowl himself. If you don't bowl yourself, then people are saying whether he's not bowling himself at the right time. But I agree completely with Michael. There's so much to think about. But when a bowler's not bowling, he's also thinking about where he's going to bowl when he comes in to bowl. So maybe that's the reason why there's not that many that many bowler captains.
See what Ashwin done.
Shane Warne did a fantastic job with the Rajasthan Royals, but he was at a different stage in his career.
Yep.
So.
Well, there it was. It was not just about monkering. Just talking about Ashwin has set us off into another direction about bowlers and captains. Let's try and focus, but there's lots to talk about, including things that you need to think about, which is making your MPL super team. I've been busy trying to figure that out, and there's a lot of changes today, so you've got to keep watching and make sure you get confirmations as to who's in, who's out. Moses Enriquez, if you've put him in, take him straight out, because he's had a fall just before the toss, and he's going to be out of the reckoning for the Kings 11 Punjab. So download the app and get...
Sorry, how late can you change? Can you change just before the first ball is bowled?
First ball is bowled.
I think that's fair, because if you've got players in your side who are injured, you should be allowed to change, right?
Absolutely. There used to be games that didn't allow you to do that, but I think it's...
You're doing pretty well, aren't you?
I am, but I still need to make a couple of changes, because there's so many team changes to talk about.
Okay, you do that. We'll give you long answers. We'll have a conversation.
We'll have a chat.
You can make your
Okay,
changes.
they are ready, actually. So we need to share this with all of you, because there are a few talking points in there. And let's have a look at the two teams. Kings 11 Punjab, first up, the home team. And
yeah, there was so much excitement when we saw that. It wasn't actually Prabh Simran Singh, but Arshdeep Singh, who's been picked. So presumably he's a bowler, because they only have 5 bowling options there. So Ashwin, Arshdeep, Mujibur Rahman, Mohammad Shami, Murugan, Ashwin. He's a seam bowler, Arshdeep, because he said we're playing 3 spinners. So Ashwin, Murugan, Ashwin, and Mujib. Presumably Mujib will bowl in the power play as well. There's a bowling option.
Yeah, I think Mujib. He missed in the last game, and that was a bad selection from the Punjab team. I just wonder if Mujib will try and take out Butler.
You can see why they wanted to play Moses Henriquez, because you'll get a couple of overs from him. He's not a bowler. You still get a couple of overs from him. But I wonder if Sam Curran is he dropped? Is he unfit? Because the moment Moses Henriquez wasn't available, they could have gone back to Sam Curran, couldn't they?
Well, maybe it was about not sacrificing that little bit of batting that Moses Enriquez would have batted at 3, 4 or 5. And hence they said it was Mujib coming in for Sam Curran, like for like.
But then now they've got a young kid playing, and he's got to bowl 4 overs. There's no hiding place for him. What if Butler goes after him?
Which he will.
Yeah,
he always goes after
that's
people.
A given. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe Sam Curran's got a niggle. We'll find that out during the evening. But I'm surprised if he's been dropped. He's all right. He's had the odd game or two that not quite gone to plan, but he's always contributed. Whether it's just a little cameo with the bat, a couple of wickets here or there. Obviously got the hat trick. Surprised if he's been dropped.
Changes for Rajasthan Royals, some notable ones. Stephen Smith is not playing. They've got in another spinner in Ish Sodhi, and Ashton Turner. We talked about this at the start, just minutes before the start of the show, is after that impact he had for Australia, why isn't he playing? The answer is he is playing, Ashton Turner. Stuart Binney is in there as well, and of course that means that Ben Stokes still has that niggle.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Stokes goes back to the UK early. He's clearly got a little issue with, I think it might be his right quad. So I would expect him to be on the plane back to the UK, because England will be looking at Ben Stokes. Wait a minute, we need you back in the UK to get England's physios around him. So that could be a plane home for him. Ashton Turner is an outstanding cricketer. I think he's quality. Surprised they haven't played him a little bit sooner. Yes. Surprised that they went with Liam Livingstone in the last game. Bearing in mind that Liam Livingstone opens the batting in T20 cricket. They played him in the middle. He bowled 1 over, got dispatched into the stands. So he was out of sync in terms of the role that he was playing. Steve Smith is the big shout. I don't think he's quite found his rhythm. I don't think he's quite fit. I'm sure that elbow is 100%. But when he's played all the games and all of a sudden out of nowhere he gets dropped.
Someone had to bell the cat. We've always been saying Rahane, Samson, Smith in the top 4 is putting too much pressure on Butler. So I wonder who went and belled the cat there and said, sorry.
But on Ashton Turner, I mean, would there have been a factor saying that, listen, this is the ground where he announced himself to the world, and you're back here again?
I'll tell you what, if you followed the Big Bash, he made some big announcements there.
He did.
In Australia
but just
as well.
Internationally speaking, against that Indian team, it was Australia's resurgence almost, and you said that it's not just those two we're talking about. There are some other factors coming through.
He just kept going. I was at the ground that day. He just kept hitting everything, and he didn't know he's playing. He didn't know he's playing till very shortly before the toss, and he just hit everything. He's a very, very clean hitter of the ball. I remember when he first came with a very young Perth Scorchers side, with Justin Langer was coach of that team. There were a lot of youngsters. He used to bowl a bit. I don't know. I think he bowled off spin a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, he's had a dodgy shoulder. Whether he can bowl a couple of overs tonight, we'll have to wait and see. But he isn't just a hitter. He isn't just one of these that can come in and just swing. He's quite smart, so he will read the situation. So if he gets in early, he won't just, he's not Dre Russ that just swings and tries to hit it in the stand. He will try and work his way into the innings if the situation dictates that.
He bats 4 for the Scorchers, doesn't he?
Yeah, 4. He kind of floats, but they're not shy of sending him in if in the 8th over they'll lob him in there.
And how big is he going to be with the absence of Stokes, Archer, and Jos Buttler very soon?
It's peculiar. I think some of the franchises were looking at World Cup selections and hoping that some players didn't get picked, so that they'll have them for the entire IPL. So now they'll have Sodhi for the entire IPL. Let's look at that side again, because I think they'll have Sodhi for the entire IPL. They'll have Turner for the entire IPL. Who else is there? Overseas player. Butler, of course. Butler will leave. Archer will leave. Yeah. So
Joshua Archer will leave. Steve Smith will go back, even
I'm
though
really
he's not
interested
in this 11.
It's intriguing that all the talk is, would Steve Smith make the 15 for Australia? Would they give him a bit more time? Would they give him a bit of county cricket or play some red ball Australia A cricket going into the Ashes? And now they've picked him in the World Cup squad. I just kind of dropped it.
It's gone. Yeah, correct. But I just wonder, Australia are playing a few warm-up games against New Zealand. So that's what the players are going back for. But the New Zealand players were not at the IPL. So maybe he'll go and get some games there, because it's very clear he needs the games.
But ultimately, you've made the right point. It's the right decision for the team.
Yeah.
Because Ajinkya Rahane, Sanju Samson and Steve Smith in the top 4 of a T20 team, it isn't the right formation. They're not the right style of players. You can have one, I call them nerdlers. Ajinkya's a better player than a nerdler. He hits it. He played great against Mumbai just the other night. But you need strikers. You need players that can go in there and go boom, boom, boom. All right, I need a 6 and smack it into the stands. You can't have 3 of the top 4 that are, reliant on a bit of pace on the ball. And Ashton Turner, he hasn't played, so that's going to be the difficulty for him. He's a better style player for this team than a Steve Smith and a Sanju Samson and a Ajinkya Rahane in the top 4.
The other thing to look at is the home side, the Kings 11 Punjab. Remember what happened last season? They won a whole lot of games altogether, and then everything started falling away. Are we seeing a familiar ring to this season again? From a Kings 11 Punjab point of view, you wouldn't want to know that, but have a look at this. This is what happened last season. First 6, 5 out of 6. Last 8, won only once.
Wasn't it around that time that Ashwin said we are overperforming and that I'm surprised we've won so many or something along those lines? He said you're winning more than I thought we could or something like that. It's always tricky when you don't know the exact quote. But they just fell off the cliff after that. They've lost 2 in 2. They've lost 3 in 4 actually now. So I just wonder if it's playing in their mind there. Last year, I think Gale came in late. KL Rahul was in top form, but they didn't have any batting after that. So this time they'd want a little more batting. But yeah, they'd be thinking about that.
Yeah, mentally, I mean, that's what Ashwin will have to think back to last season and say, okay, we've just had a slide. It's not something familiar again. How do we try and resurrect it? Because they're playing against a side who, like the RCB team, are dangerous because of where they are on the table.
Yeah, they are dangerous, Rajasthan. And in most games, they've been close to winning. All right, they've only won a couple, but they have been in, I guess, winning positions in most of the games that they played. So they're a team that has got, match winners in them, as most T20 teams have. They always have 2 or 3 individuals that you look at and think if they arrive and play, you've got a chance of winning the game. And it's the same with the Kings. If Chris Gale arrives and plays, KL Rahul, and Ashwin has a good day, or, Mujib suddenly starts working his magic, you're in with a great chance of winning the game. So sometimes you look at the collective of the team, and ultimately it's about just trying to get 2 or 3 of your individuals having special days. And if you get that, generally get a W by your name at the end of it.
It's also that stage in the tournament when all the others in the middle are hoping that the teams at the bottom win a couple of games. So I can imagine Delhi Capitals, Mumbai Indians, KKR, they're all barracking today for Rajasthan Royals.
Yeah.
So
that's the reason why. If you can see the Royals.
SRH are absolutely barracking for Rajasthan Royals here. The funny thing is that if Rajasthan Royals win today, they are, they become 3-5, and SRH, for all their start, they lose to CSK tomorrow, they become 3-5 as well.
If I was Punjab and all the talk, we're talking about it, so many others will be talking about it, that they start well and then they fade away, I'd just look at that league and say, let's play the most positive cricket today, win, and we almost knocked Rajasthan out if we win today.
Yes.
Rajasthan aren't coming back with just 2 from 7?
2 from 7. If they lose today, it's 2 from 8. They're not coming back.
You're not coming back from that.
Especially
so Punjab,
given they lose their players.
They should be all positive, saying, come on, let's knock them out. Let's get rid of this lot. RCB, they're gone. Can't think they're going to win 7 on the trot. Let's get rid of Rajasthan. Then it's pretty much going to be 2 from probably 4.
I mean, I saw that very cruel tweet about RCB the other day. It said they've just interrupted one losing streak and then started another. that was terrible, actually. But
I think
I'm probably going to get a lot of flack from RCB fans for that. But it was someone else, not me. But he's absolutely right. If Kings are winning this, then they're actually starting to. They go up to 10 points as well. And
yes,
they can start to think about whether they can make it big.
One more quick look at that.
If the Royals lose today, look, who's this Royals team built on? It's built on 2 pillars. I thought it was built on 3 pillars, but Stokes hasn't quite delivered. He's not playing now. But it's a team built on 2 pillars at the moment. Butler here and Archer here. You look at the team and you get the feeling the captain's looking for Archer all the time. When do I bowl those 4 overs? Butler, Archer. What happens after the 22nd? Suddenly the 2 pillars are gone. So if they've got to have any chance, they've got to win everything till the stars go. So if Punjab beat them today, then Rajasthan are gone.
Well, let's talk about these 2 pillars and let's go in order because it's Ajinkya Rahane who's won the toss. They're fielding first. They will be looking for Jofra Archer already, but it's not all good news. While he has been their standout bowler, certainly, along with Shreyas Gopal to a certain extent, let's have a look at some numbers that suggest that Ajinkya Rahane has a few worries up his sleeve, particularly in the death overs. It's not just RCB. The men in pink have been not very good in those last few overs.
Exactly. All the more reason why they're looking for Jofra Archer all the time. Archer bowls all the difficult overs for them.
Yeah.
So Archer's figures won't be as great, but you have to compare those figures with when he has bowled. I always think that you look at the bowling figures in T20 and you don't look at economy rates. You look at what the economy rate should be for people who bowl those overs. So if you're bowling 4039, you look at which overs you've bowled and see what the average score in those overs is and compare against that. Archer bowls all the difficult overs for them because, as you said, Ajinkya Rahane has got nowhere else to look for some of the others. So I'd be interested in seeing how they go today.
It'd be good if we could get a weightage on these. In tennis, we talk about playing the big points well. A big server who, at every time there's 40 love, if he serves an ace, it doesn't really count. In a tie-break, you get in 3 aces, that counts so much more. So if there's a way to actually weight those ways of figuring the difficult overs.
It is. I mean, all you've got to do is look over the history of T20 cricket and someone's already done that, those figures are available, and say, what is the average score in over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? You'll find that 1 and 7 are the easiest overs to bowl, for example. And say, if you bowl overs number 4, 6, 18, 20, which are the heavy scoring overs. You bowl 4, 6, 18, 20. What is the average scores for those overs, and then compare with what you've conceded?
I would say that if you did that, Jofra Archer would be up there with the best.
Yeah, I think so.
He's outstanding. You just know what you get, and he bowls that heavy length, gets a little bit of movement, he gets the Yorkers in, he's got that quick bounce. So we saw him hit MS Dhoni in that game against Chennai with a rocket.
Yeah.
Only MS could survive that. He kind of just went, all right, I'll get on with it. And I've Chris Woakes back home in England today has been making comment. Mark Wood yesterday saying, that they're a bit worried. Morally it's a bit wrong, but you've got to pick your best team. And I'm just starting to get a bit concerned that there's too much of that being said about Jofra Archer. Jofra Archer's available to play for England. Whether I agree with it or not, the ECB changed the rules to get him available for England. He is an English player now. He's available. Do you want your best players in the team? Of course you do. So I'm not too sure that all the players will get asked the question. So they have to say something, I guess. But when you're hearing morally not right, and it's not going to be fair on a David Willey or a Tom Curran, or Liam Plunkett might miss out on the 11th. That's international sport. You play your best 11. You pick your best players, and unfortunately, as much as the systems let everyone down really in the UK, Jofra is available, and he is England's best 11 by, and what I see, by a good distance.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt whatsoever about the other pillar we're talking about, Jos Buttler. He makes it into the England team without any doubt whatsoever, and he has been absolutely outstanding. The last time around, he performed so well for the Rajasthan Royals. He was drafted into the England side, and he hasn't looked back ever since. And with that strike rate, that average this season.
Player. He's just an incredible player. I mean, I remember Ben Stokes saying once that he was on a train and they were following the auction there. And he said, I saw that Jos Buttler came back from the IPL and he was playing shots that I hadn't seen before. And he said, right, I want to go too. And Buttler had a couple of okay seasons with Mumbai Indians, but with Rajasthan Royals, since he's gone to the top of the order, he's just, we're talking about just a couple of days back, where do you bowl to him? There's some players you can set fields too, but he's a proper 360-degree batsman.
Yeah, I think spinning. I think
you talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, Kings Punjab have done the right thing by going with 3 spinners tonight, because that's exactly how you attack Jos Buttler. You bowl straight and just get a little bit of mystery involved. Try and get him kind of working it, just try and working it through the gaps. And he sometimes just gets a little bit lost with his grip. He holds the bat right at the top of the handle, and sometimes it doesn't allow him just to kind of work the wrist. It's kind of a bit wooden. When he's striking it, the Wankhede Stadium is absolutely perfect for his style of play against the spin, because it just sits and he can just drive through it, and he doesn't have to worry about the spin. I know last night's game spun a lot more than we saw in the Rajasthan game, but this will be interesting tonight, because it looks like it will spin a bit. Whether the dew comes in or not, I do think there'll be a little bit there, and can he strike it to the same effect against the spinners like we saw at the Wankhede?
Yeah, I was wondering when I first saw the selection of so many spinners in one side. We've got wrist spinners, we've got finger spinners, everything to play for today. And anyone, maybe they were looking at last night's pitch and thinking we brought that, and it was a square turner yesterday. But the other turner of a different kind playing today. But speaking of strange things, we've got a Stranger 11 season finale that is up and running on the Cricbuzz app, and you can actually pick it up because we've got a very interesting topic this time. If you can have a look at why Rohit Sharma is wearing a chef's hat, and why we've got these very fancy glasses and moustaches and villains and whatnot.
Who's the rightmost? That's Kuldeep Yadav in the middle, right?
Yes.
Who's rightmost?
MS.
That's MS Dhoni.
Ah, okay. Okay, yeah. Okay.
So we've got a chef's hat for Rohit Sharma, because we went out and asked the question on Strangers 11, what possible alternate profession could our professional cricketers have? And of course we picked on a few, but Danish decided he didn't quite go and figure out Ashwin. So I think he's left it to us to try and figure something out, because Ashwin's the focus of today's show. So what are you giving Ashwin?
Ravi Ashwin.
Professor? I think he make a great professor.
He's bright. He's bright. I'm trying to think of someone that looks at lines.
A surveyor?
It'd be a tennis line judge.
Yeah?
Yeah, just sit on the end and just judge whether a ball's gone in or out.
You were going down interesting, a survey, geological survey.
Because he said lines, whatever, I think he'd make a decent lawyer, you know, because he's always looking at what goes around the law.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a decent lawyer, actually.
He's probably bright enough to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting that for the legal profession, rather than being argumentative, there are more people who like to get around the law.
And he can be argumentative too. He backs his arguments well.
Well, maybe
engage you.
Politics. He needs to go into politics.
Yeah, who's got?
Can he deal with Brexit?
We'll ask him. Maybe at the end of this, if they start going downhill, he'll need to find a way to get them going the other way. Well, there's another person, when you think of argumentative, when you think of someone who's posing questions at you, only one name comes to mind, and he's got a bit of a stickler for us today. Joy Bhattacharya, this is his Joy Factor question for today. Ooh, that's a mouthful. We'll try and get it in before the end of the show. The great West Indian Carl Hooper is the only Kent cricketer to accomplish which feat at the historic St. Lawrence Canterbury Cricket Ground? A feat that is no longer possible to accomplish after 2005.
That's the clue.
Don't give any clues away because I'm already starting to grow a bit of a clue, but I won't mention that. Previously done by Larry Constantine, Jim Smith and Arthur Watson. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live if you can get yourself to the right answer over there. But we're not giving you any.
There's clues in there, but enough. Yeah,
there's lots of clues in there. But
there's clues in there.
Michael's nodding. We're not. I'm sure you've played enough at that beautiful ground.
It's one of the first questions that I've actually... No, I don't know if I know the absolute answer, but I understood the question, which is the first time.
All right. We'll give you an easier question, Michael.
Cool.
How much are they going to score? Because you suddenly, after having this huge drought, the reverse of what Punjab had last year, you didn't know what the MPL Super Couch felt like, and now suddenly it's your own.
Yeah. I'm going 172.
4 on the trot, you go how much?
172.
172, he says. Now that's
11.
Going by his track record. That's probably exactly what they're going to score. Harsha, it's up to you.
Kings 11. 181.
181.
Ooh. Oh, okay, 181. I just wonder with his slowish track again. I don't know.
All those spinners,
You're the guy who's good at these fantasy leagues and all that, at predicting things.
I know. I just don't know if I have the right players in, if I have all the right players in it, because I was thinking of Enriquez, but I didn't put him in.
It's such a problem hosting a program
because
you don't get time to change your team.
You just don't get time to change your team because exactly that's the key moments. Anyway, I still need to give my prediction, so I'm going lower. I'm going to go for 163. As somewhat of an average par type of score with a lot of spinners playing, and it's the Kings 11 Punjab who are batting first. So the range starts at 153 and finishes...
163 you said?
No, I mean the range. So
okay, yeah. Starts 153. You said 170.
191.
I'm 181.
So 191.
So
153 to 191. We're going to have an MPL Super Couch in the mid-show. But Cricbuzz Combox will come in the 10th over, where we try and see if we're kind of on the right track or not and assess the situation of the match as well. It should be a spicy one. It's the return of the Mankad. It's the Kings 11 Punjab taking on the Rajasthan Royals in Mohali. We'll see you shortly. MPL presents Cricbuzz Live.